Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Monday night, August 7th, 2023. It's about 10:26 p.m. out here in the West Coast, California time. Latest activity looks like a 3.2 over here, just off the coast of northern Sumatra, about 49 kilometers deep there into the Java Trench area. Did see some activity wrapping up around the Java Trench earlier. We'll check into that here in just a minute. Looking at the space weather activity, goodness, we've seen a couple X flares here in the past 2 days or so, including an X 1.5 that popped off earlier this afternoon. Pretty strong flare. That X 1.5 would make it one of the top flares out here, number 6 to be exact, of solar cycle 25, and solar cycle 25 will be peaking in the year 2025, roughly around the June time period. So it's a pretty significant flare. Notice this right here, peaking up into the X 1.5 range. Beautiful flare, but this was not Earth directed. It actually was out there on the western limb. This is the image here of the X flare that popped off earlier this afternoon. It did produce a pretty massive full halo CME. I got to show you this. Watch up here in the north. Let me bring this up a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. Look up here. That might be too big. Up here on the northwestern quadrant of the sun, as we put this into motion, you'll see other small ones, but you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a full halo CME right there. You guys see that? Let me rewind this a little bit. Look at that baby. That was a big one. Very big, massive CME. And unfortunately, this was directed away from the Earth. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a beautiful aurora display here across, I'm sure, many portions of the states probably in about 3 days or so. But that, unfortunately, was not directed at Earth. We are looking at potentially a G2 storm coming up here. They have it set for the August 8th time period. Let's see what we got here for the detailed forecast from the solarhand.net site. I like to use this site quite often. They're forecasting here on the UTC date of August 8th between 0600 and 1200 time. And the current UTC time, by the way, is the 8th at 0530 almost. So this activity will take place. It could kick up any time now, I would say, overnight tonight and into the early morning hours. Any time between the 06 and 1200 time frame. So that's technically, we're coming up on the 0600 time frame right now. So 6 hours. We got a chance. You know, it's dark out here, obviously across most of the North American plate. Except for certain areas into the Alaska area. But when this thing kicks in later, potentially tonight, we could be seeing some awesome auroras coming up. The date right now, obviously the 7th, but we're talking about the UTC time. Current UTC time, August 8th, 0530. So anytime here soon, I would say, is when things going to be kicking up as far as the auroras go. And it looks like they're expecting maybe a KP index up around the 4, 5, 6 level or so. And that's a G2 class storm. We'll definitely continue to watch that throughout the evening, see if anything kicks up from this incoming CME. Active conditions will be prevailing later tonight. We are currently seeing a Proton event from that X flare that popped off earlier today on the northwestern quadrant or northwestern limb of the sun. It wasn't even visible, but the flare popped up well above the area of the sun, above the sunspots, and we've seen that beautiful flare. So Proton event kicking up here. This has been almost like a weekly thing with these Proton events. I can't recall the last time we've seen so many Proton events out here, but Earth definitely getting bombarded here with protons. Affecting the ionosphere way up above our heads, mostly affecting high-frequency radio communications and low-frequency navigation systems within these ranges here. I'm pretty sensitive to what goes on around me, far as solar events and earthquake activity. Missy Mimi's more so. Today, I don't know. I've been kind of in a positive mood. I've been feeling very positive here today, lately. So I don't know if it's got to do with the current activity or not. But I'm not feeling any negativity going on. Most of the time, when I get this this feeling of positivity, we got some solar events going on. So let me know if you guys are experiencing anything as far as your the world around you, because no doubt it does affect us in its own way. All right, so we'll watch this tonight. 5 to 6 there on KP Index. G2 class storm incoming. Current threat right now, still 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 55% chance, 10% for the X flare probability. And that is going off of probably this activity that's stirring off on the northwestern limb of the sun. We're left with some sunspots that are looking pretty weak. I'm not even joking. These are about as wimpy as you can as you can expect here. There's not a whole lot of complexity within any of these sunspot regions. I don't see a lot of growth out there. We do have a newer sunspot out there on the northeastern limb of the sun. We'll continue to watch. But for the most part, we're left with some high and dry conditions out there. Not a whole lot of flaring taking place within these visible sunspot regions facing Earth. But again, looking out on the eastern limb, somewhat active. Saying goodbye to those numerous sunspots that have produced mini flares. See you guys later. Thanks for the fun. All right, let's get into some earthquake activity and see what's going on here. With all this space weather activity, we should expect a major outbreak in earthquake activity, right? Major earthquakes taking place. Well, that's not the case right now. Last time we had an X flare, things were kicking up, right? We've seen some large earthquake activity. Let's see where that was at. Last 30 days, 4.5 and above. I know we had some large ones out there. We had that 7.2 mid-July up in Alaska, 6.6 Argentina. Actually, all these earthquakes struck within a couple days of each other. 6.5 El Salvador region. And that was during some elevated space weather conditions. But right now, not a whole lot. We'll see what happens overnight as the G2 forecasted storm hits our planet. Pending it does hit our planet and doesn't miss us. Because right now things are they're very minimal. We did have a 5.7 South Sandwich Islands earlier this afternoon. Up here in the northern edge here of the South Sandwich Trench. Been watching that here over the past 30 days. It's been showing some elevated movement up here in a swarm fashion, but if you think about it, this activity here south of that region has been kicking up here in a broad scale area across the South Sandwich Trench over the last 30 days, and with very minimal activity up north here. So it looks like this is just playing catch up, so to speak. So this is a large amount of earthquake activity, a lot of multitude of quakes here, catching up with the adjustment that's been taking place here across the southern edge here of the South Sandwich Trench. All right, what else we got here across the area? Puerto Rico region, a couple smaller earthquakes, including a 4.3 though earlier this afternoon. It looks, well, early evening I should say. This one pretty close up to the Puerto Rico Trench region, about 21 kilometers deep. Getting a swarm of activity once again here across the Middle America Trench. Quite a few fours. The earthquake 3D globe here. Let's go ahead and bring this up and see what we have. EMSC showing some data out here in the 3 and 4 range. Cluster of earthquake activity currently taking place. A 2.5 currently on the green flag there in Puerto Rico at about 16 kilometers deep. Up into Texas, what do we got going on out here? One earthquake? Nope. You kind of have to, if you look at the map here, wow, just one earthquake out in Texas. No, got to zoom in. This is a swarm of activity, 2s and 3s kicking off here earlier this morning and also into the evening time period. The latest quake, 3.2. Can anybody guess what's out there? I mean, if you watch this channel or any other channel out there that kind of talks about what's going on out there in the earthquake world, you guys will know what's out there. Satellite imagery here Shows a couple back roads leading to some beautiful campsites that are full of swimming pools for those campers. Enjoying the western desert area of Texas. No, just kidding. That's not the case. Those are actually roads leading out to oil fields and wastewater disposal ponds. That's what these areas are out here in the desert of Texas. Big time oil producing country out here in this area of Texas outside of Pecos. There's some type of, I think this is a solar farm, if I remember right. Somebody was saying this is some type of solar farm that's taking place literally right next to a bunch of oil fields. Figures, right? Okay, so yeah, earthquake activity continuing out in this region. Now, I'm not for sure when this earthquake or when this satellite imagery was taken. There could be newer operations out here. They could be taking the wastewater and traveling over here and disposing of it into the mountain ranges. I don't know. I don't see any new operations going on out here in this specific area, but it is occurring roughly within that same depth there that we would see consistent with wastewater disposal operations there at about 6 to 7 kilometers deep. All right. Moving on. Where are we going? Oklahoma? What's going on up there in Oklahoma? 1.2 outside of El Reno, Oklahoma. Early this morning at 11:11. Not 11:11, but 11 minutes and 11 seconds there. Outside of the airport, it looks like. Nothing going on across the eastern portion of the country. Far as the plate boundary, that includes California out here. One earthquake off of the Brawley seismic zone earlier this afternoon at 2.0. No swarming going on here, but continuing to watch that. Minimal movement here across the San Jacinto fault zone. The southern edge here, southern branch of the San Andreas fault looks pretty quiet for now. But no doubt that will not be the story. The Bay Area of California, pretty minimal. Got one earthquake here south of Concord. Looks like 1.4 just outside of Oakland, California, 7.3 kilometers deep. Of course, Oakland and the whole Bay Area sits around a major seismically hazardous zone. Not only do you have the San Andreas Fault, but many other faults here that are long overdue for some large damaging earthquakes, including the Calaveras and the Hayward Fault Zone. Those areas are they're primed. Let me tell you, they are primed for some large events. Just a matter of time, right? It's almost like being happy. Eventually, say you have a couple days here being sad or being angry. Eventually, happiness comes around. But in this case, I don't know if I would compare happiness with large earthquake activity, right? But I was trying to think of a similarity there. But eventually, earthquake activity will come around. It's building up. Movement down here south of Clear Lake. This is the Calpine hydrothermal fields. I do like to show this on occasion. There's quite a few secured facilities out here outside of Cobb Mountain. These are some hydrothermal plants where they inject raw sewage below into the surface, which is heated there in the Clear Lake volcanic field, and they create energy to power the homes around the Bay Area. Nothing really going on here across the southern edge here of the Cascadia subduction zone. A little bit of mountain or a little bit of activity outside of the Crater Lake area. Now that's a volcano. Did you guys know that? When I traveled up here as a kid, I had no clue that this was actually a volcano. I just thought it was a cool lake up in the mountains of Oregon. But Crater Lake is a volcano, and it had an explosive eruption in its past that created this huge crater. And of course, Oregon gets a lot of rainfall here across the Cascades, and it just filled up over time. But we're looking at a couple earthquakes here across this volcano. So on that note, let's double check the, we're going to go to the volcanic seismicity map here after a glance of the tremor, which is sitting at 181 epicenters of tremor. Notice that we got some tremor here occurring just west of the Crater Lake area. Now, this could be purely plate tectonic fault movement, not volcanic, due to this tremor. Tremor activity is strained down below into the subduction zone, obviously adding some crustal deformation up the Cascades, and also some strain across the subduction zone. Let's go ahead and check out the Crater Lake area of Oregon. Beautiful area, absolutely beautiful. I love visiting this region in the wintertime. I'm a big fan of cold. All right, Crater Lake National Park. If you haven't been there, check it out. Crater Lake, Wizard Island, a beautiful little island feature out there. Quite a few waterfalls in there as well, around that drive around the rim. All right, so this is a perfectly organized, well-defined seismograph station here. Notice the squiggly line. That's what you normally see, right, on a drum, so to speak. You know, remember the old analog type of drums here with the needle across the paper, and it'd have to be changed every so often. But earthquake activity, that's going to be a little spike right here, a little spike right here. Those are very small earthquakes. The previous day, I like this. Look at that. Well defined. This is what every single seismograph station should look like. That way you can pick up every single thing that's going on here across the area. This here looks like maybe some wind events, about earthquake activity potentially right here as well, maybe another smaller one. It doesn't look like there's any major swarm going on around the Crater Lake area. Just some very small earthquakes. These are S waves from previous large earthquakes somewhere else a couple days ago. You know, we've had some decent sized earthquakes there around the globe. But as far as local activity, it would obviously show up pretty nicely, and we're just not seeing anything major going on there across the Crater Lake area. Only a couple small earthquakes, and think of this. The largest one was only a 0.8. It's a very small earthquake. All right, Washington area, a couple small quakes around Mount St. Helens. It looks like right at the top of the crater area. Right smack dab right in the crater region. 2.3. Let's double check that too, right? Might as well. Since we're on the topic of Cascade volcanoes, let's see what's going on at the Mount St. Helens area. Some earthquake activity, obviously. That's an active volcano. Been active here in the recent past. Let's check out the 3-component broadband station here. Sometimes this station is not working. It has been defunction here recently. There's the little earthquake. Now, that's an earthquake, definitely. What this stuff is here? Let me see what the previous image looks like. A couple smaller quakes as well. I don't know what this other earthquake or this other activity is. Whether it's very small microquake activity that's just not reading around the area. It kind of looks like that. But there's definitely some earthquake activity. We know what it looks like right here, right there, right here. And then on the current day, we see that one there as well. But these are very small earthquakes. And if you think about it, these other ones here are even smaller than the magnitude of the 1.1. So whether it's earthquake activity or maybe some other adjustment going on there across Mount St. Helens, it's nothing major. Very small movement going on there across the Mount St. Helens area. Yellowstone National Park, a super volcano, kind of puts the Mount St. Helens area and the Crater Lake area to shame, right? In explosive events. One earthquake, and it looks like a 0.5. But let's double check. Let's go ahead and double check. By the way, you guys notice the internet connectivity a lot faster out here on my end. I reset the stream earlier. I don't know what happened. Sometimes the routers out there, the internet routers that you have, need to be reset on occasion. And, leaving it unplugged for a few minutes resets the IP, resets all the connections there with the ISP provider. And, I got well above a gigabyte speed out here for my internet now. In the past couple updates, this was very slow, and it bugs me. I'm paying, I'm paying some money for some fast internet out here, and it better happen. So occasionally, reset your router to fix errors. This activity over here across Maple Creek, Madison River, west boundary, I believe that's the thunderstorm activity from earlier. We could double check, but it looks like your typical afternoon thunderstorm activity out there across northwestern Wyoming. We'll go over here to the weather radar just real quick, and then we'll get back into the earthquake activity. We can go back to the last 12 hours or so. That way you guys can see The movement that keyed up out here, it looks like mainly across the western edge here of the Yellowstone region. This is not volcanic activity. I mean, a lot of people like to fearmonger that, but notice some storms brewing up out here, mainly, it looks like mainly across the northwestern corner here of the park. And if we look at the seismograph stations here, once again, I'll key this up. Most of that activity well up here in the northwestern corner of the park. We don't see that activity showing up anywhere else where thunderstorms did not take place today. So I kind of like to point that out because a lot of people are saying, wow, look at that. That's magma movement. That's a harmonic tremor. Well, that's not. Let's put that fear-mongering down and realize what it is. I'm not against the truth. I'm 100% for the truth and facts, and that's why I compare seismograph stations, timestamps to radar activity. And thunderstorm activity was prevalent mostly across the northwestern corner here of the park. But far as earthquake activity, as you can see, there's not a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all across the region. All right, let's see what else we have here across the area. And another one out in Texas. Goodness, that's... was that one up here? Or did that one just pop up? I think that one just popped up, didn't it? 2.9? Because we were just looking at this cluster of earthquake activity. This 2.9 way out here. Not for sure some type of pond, but this could just be natural. It looks like there is some elevated topography here on the map. 5 kilometers deep. So, well, we'll just kind of see how that goes out there in Texas. All right, what else do we have across the globe? Alaska, very minimal, very small microquake activity. Adjustment going on here across the Izu Trench. Notice that the last earthquake of 4.2, 320 kilometers deep there into the Mariana Islands, north of there. That earthquake coming in just earlier this evening. We did see a swarm of activity up here off the coast of Tokyo into the Izu, the surface areas of the Izu Trench. Let's see here. We haven't really seen any major adjustment downstream, but we did see some activity over here south of the Japan region prior to this activity. So adjustment going on here along the northwestern edge of the Filipino plate, affecting the adjustment over here, adding some strain, so to speak. A lot of times we'll see deeper movement activity here into the Izu Trench affecting the surface areas, but it looks like right now it wants to stay at the surface areas. We'll continue to watch that for some movement. There's that deep earthquake in the Mariana Trench area. 3.3 coming in into the Banda Sea area. It looks like around this area right here. Not showing up on the USGS map, of course, but we did see some activity earlier this evening, 5.0, and also up here around the Andaman Sea area, 5.1 from earlier this morning. So things are starting to kick up slightly across this area of the Java Trench. One earthquake of 4.3, it looks like around the Myanmar area, and some movement outside of eastern Afghanistan. Once again, some older earthquake activity. We have been noticing a swarm of movement here with some deeper and some larger earthquake activity taking place, but it looks like things have tapered off for now. Movement across Turkey and the Mediterranean, very minimal, and of course, I always have to point this out. 5.5 earthquake there off the coast of Spain or Morocco. This is an error that takes place here when the EMSC data gets reported here to the Earthquake 3D globe. I don't know why, but they report like 3 magnitudes higher than the original quake. So ignore, for the most part, what's going on specifically right here in this little strait. It's nowhere else. It's basically just there in the strait. Let's see here. Solomon Islands and the Papua New Guinea area gone quiet. Watch that to fill in here pretty soon. We did see some deeper movement quakes there into the Tonga Trench. Looks like a pretty deep earthquake, 5.0. Tonga Trench area, 406 kilometers deep. One earthquake adjustment down here across the Kermadec Trench of 4.9. Let me see what we got going on here for the GeoNet servers. Let me refresh this. Latest reported earthquake was at 4.4 earlier this morning, South Island area. The all magnitudes map here shows a couple twos here in the last few hours. I don't think we've seen anything major, otherwise that would be reported across the New Zealand area. A glance at the earthquake 3D drums here. For the most part, shows some minimal activity. There's that 4-pointer from earlier, about 12, 13 hours ago. Obviously, a 4-pointer is going to show up pretty nicely across the region. But for the most part, things quiet across the board there in New Zealand. Further west, way west out here, nothing going on across the Atlantic aside from that South Sandwich Trench activity. And South America, a couple deep earthquakes going on, but this is a major subduction zone, always active. It's almost more active than the areas across the Western Pacific, surprisingly. All right, weather activity. I want to go over here to the, let's see here, the reports today. Now, today was supposed to be a major severe weather day across areas of the eastern portion of the country. Now, this is the Storm Prediction Center. Their updates, it has been updated to the recent time of weather reports. This is filtered weather reports out here. Now, there's only been one confirmed tornado report, and that looks like out there in northwestern Kansas. For the most part, you know, they were expecting some major wind damage out there. Most of these reports here are wind reports, high wind reports. There's 517 wind reports out here across those areas in the Blue Triangle. Some large damaging hail, mostly outside here in the southern or the Central Plains area. But I am really not seeing any tornado reports out there across the eastern portion of the country. Now, this was in a 10% zone. Now, we did see some tornado warnings, but I have yet to see a confirmed report of a tornado touching down out here. So these guys got pretty lucky. Wind events, obviously a big deal. Higher than 65 knots. Maybe a little bit of large hail in there as well, but that stuck mostly over here. So yeah, these guys got a little lucky here in terms of not seeing any type of tornado outbreak, which is good. Current day 1 forecast still showing some of that activity stretching across the eastern portion of the country. There mostly looks like around the North Carolina area. A little noise going on out here across the Texas area tonight. Let me bring up the windy map here. See what we got for the current radar imagery as far as the states go. There's some of that activity stretching. It's pretty much done out there for the most part. The folks out there in the eastern portion of the country, this is all drifting offshore, and should be a pretty quiet night after that. Oklahoma area popping off here with a lot of thunderstorm activity. Look at this cell. I don't know who lives out here around this region, but I don't think they're sleeping tonight, that's for sure. That looks like right around the border of Arkansas and the Oklahoma area. Also, we got a big band of thunderstorms brewing up here in the north southern edge of Kansas. That's all moving down to the south. A look at the last hour shows that movement stretching down into the warm. This area is hot. A lot of hot, humid air. So that cold frontal system is just popping off these thunderstorms pretty big time. And it's going to be a noisy night for the majority of the folks across northern Oklahoma. Also later in the evening, it'll probably be early morning time period. Regions around Texas are going to get in on the action as well. We got this cold system just kind of bringing in some cooler air, unstable environment here with all the warm humidity. It's just going to be noisy, folks. So, I would not mind that thunderstorm activity at night. I mean, look at California. We're at we hit 107 today here, unfortunately. But we are going to cool down slightly. There is a little bit of cooler weather coming up. This is a high pressure system. There's that low pressure system, cold front coming down, bringing in some storminess there to the plains and whatnot. But here in California, Notice that high pressure system backing off here a little bit. That orange is not on the map anymore. That's good news. I don't like orange. I don't. I'm not a big fan of the orange. But it looks like some cooler weather coming in here to California Wednesday into Thursday. Now, these are not cool temperatures, but these are cooler than average, so to speak, out here. We're only supposed to be in the upper 80s to low 90s. Now, that's still pretty hot, for some people, but that's, a little bit cooler than average temperatures out here for California. And that's going to provide a good portion here of the northern states. And as you can see, a little bit cooler weather coming in. But that's not going to last long. Don't let that fool you, because we're looking at some major ridging going on here in the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, with high temperatures here in California stretching up into 110 again. So I'm not looking forward to it. It kind of looks like it wants to join hands out here with another high pressure, amplifying the conditions out here along the West Coast. I'm hoping that's wrong, but it does look like the majority of August is going to be cooking out here across the Pacific Northwest and California. I'm hoping that this will be it, our last heat wave. So we'll see how it goes, right? Hopefully. Let's see what else we have here. Real quick glance here of the space weather. Nothing new popping off. Again, watch for that G2 class storm later tonight. Well, it's possible it could be kicking in right now. Notice the amplification here of the auroras. We'll watch that. Let me go over here to Space Weather Live. Is another cool site to check out space weather activity and live data. Let's see here. See what the current KP index is. It looks like it's stretching up here into the 4 range currently right now. So it looks like we may be getting some of the effects from that CME currently taking place here across the area. Definitely watch that. It might be a good sign here that things are starting to kick up a little bit there in the Aurora forecast. But aside from that, I think that is about it. I think I covered everything I needed to. Look at the live seismograph stations here. Pretty calm across the board. Not a whole lot of activity. And if you're wondering about this station here in Chile, why it's all crooked and displaced, that's just how it is. It's a digital reading from a seismogram viewer. And earthquake activity would flatline this, and it'd be a big spike out there across this station. So that's just how it is. But things look pretty calm for now, for the most part. All right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe out there. And, of course, we'll be back here tomorrow sometime. Live stream is up and running. And hope you guys subscribe. We're getting super close. Not even joking. Super close to the 100,000 subscriber mark. I'm looking at my graph right now. We're at 99,215. So 99,215 subscribers. So we are under 800 subscribers before we hit that 100K mark. I'm pretty excited about it. If you notice, I did take down the graph here above the globe that showed the subscriber count and the days that I kind of wanted to reach that point. Well, that graph right there was only picking up people that subscribe to the channel that made themselves known as a subscriber. A lot of times when you subscribe to a channel, you can make it private. So that wasn't picking up all of my subscribers. So I just went ahead and did away with that, and then I'll update here as we go on. But yeah, it's, if you have your subscriptions private, it's not going to show up on the board, so to speak. I don't know why, but that's what it is. All right, folks, appreciate it. Again, thank you very much. I can't wait to give away some big-time prizes here once we hit 100,000 subscribers. We're not talking about 1 winner, 2 winners, or 3 winners. We're going to be giving away some prizes to 10 people. So why not make it a big deal, right? 100,000 subscribers is a big deal out there. So we'll make that happen, hopefully here within a month. Have a good night, folks. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for the Tuesday morning update. Have a good one.